Hi everyone, I'm Rick Zanotti, and this is Tech Down Over. Now, down over here to my left, how about right? Whatever. It's all inverted.
You got the right way.
It's all inverted. This is my right, which is actually my left. No, it is left. Sorry. Jeff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Jeff Blanchard. And I'm Rick Zanotti, and this is Tech Down Over. Here we go. You know, I was going to say I haven't heard that in, a month already since we've done a show, but I didn't hear it now either, so I couldn't say that. So we don't hear the recordings when we play them because that tends to, for some odd reason, that causes a little bit of a delay getting to guests or to Jeff, so we just don't play it right now. But it's nice if we could play because then we know what we're listening to. Hey, Jeff, how you been?
Good, thank you, Rick. So we're getting into the Christmas spirit of trying to think of what I can spend some money on.
Oh, there's a lot of things we can spend money on, isn't there?
Yeah, it certainly is, but not for other people, just for myself. I've been very selfish.
Well, you were very kind. You sent me a really cool Yamaha sustaining pedal, which actually acts as a mute pedal with the APS-C studio channel. And guess what? My law is immutable. I have an audio law. It says, you will never have the cable you're looking for when you have it, no matter how many cables you have. And sure enough, today, I asked Clark, do we have like a 25-foot extender for a female quarter-inch to a male quarter-inch? And yes, we did, but it was the wrong type. So we couldn't use it today. It did work from where he is directly, but it doesn't work where I am. It's probably about a 20-foot cable. So I have to order a TR cable, not a TRS. It's funny.
And the thing I've found good thing with that, because like you were saying, you think, what, a sustained pedal for a cough switch? But I figure a sustained pedal is designed for people, huge weights jumping on top of them to press them, to sustain them. So they're not going to be flimsy like some of those cough switches. They're made like real flimsy plastic, and if you stand on them, you'll squash them, and most of the time when you want to quickly put it stand on it, you want something decent. And the great thing with these, I found though, is it's like the dead man switch on the train. You stand on it to speak and to take your foot off, so if you do walk away and forget to switch the stream off, at least you've got it's silent anyway, so it's very good.
Actually, it's a nice switch. Well, thank you very much for sending that. It was very kind of you. That's our office warming gift, because we just moved into these new offices. And it was really cool. I was going, and at first I'm going, Yamaha sustaining pedal. I don't have a Yamaha. And I'm thinking, what do I do with this? And then Leslie says, oh, there's a note. There's a note? Oh, there was your note. So then we looked and you said, this will be a cough and mute button. Really? So we tried it, and it's a sustain pedal. So when you cough, it goes, oh. No, just kidding. It actually mutes you. When you take your foot off of it, it's like an on-off switch, and it just mutes it, and that was pretty cool. And at first I thought, how would I put my foot on it? It's actually really easy, like you're doing. You just put it on, and you don't even think about it.
No, and the thing is, when you do walk away, you can. And like you live in a climate similar to mine here. How many times when you're on air and your shot's on you, and you just want to clear your throat?
I know, because it's dry. We're both in dry climates.
Yeah, and we're up and going out that. But it didn't come through there.
And you know what? You don't even hear it. And what I like is you don't even hear a little bit of that click or anything else. It's perfectly silent.
Yeah, and I think that's good with the APS, because I didn't realise that, but I was looking at the APS one day and thought, oh, this cough switch.
I forgot about it. When you said the APS has a cough switch, I went, oh, I know this, but I've never used it. So just after 5 years of having that APS, it just went away. I go, right, I had that. I didn't even think about it. But it's a cool way they do it, because you don't have to worry about lots of cables connecting to cables to connecting just to get the mute. You just connect it right into the preamp. So,
and and we're all trying to do these. We're trying to do a professional type podcast, and just those little things like you said. If you just want to have just a little bit of noise, or sometimes if the shot's not on to you, you can take it off and then say to somebody else in the studio to do something while the guest is still talking.
Sure.
And I found sometimes in the long show as well, if you're controlling it, you switch it off your shot, and you may want to just mute it and just take a little sip of a drink.
Right.
But you don't want people to hear you go and slurp up like that. So it's very good to do that. Right?
Yeah,
So.
that's true. Actually, what we should have is a candid camera. So while you're on the shot, I'm in the background gonna mute it.
Yeah.
And then it comes back, and you're like,
Yeah, as I said, then we need to have the cough switch synced up to the cut switch to cut.
That's right.
Shot.
Just cut the whole
That's
thing
what you
off.
need to do. So when you cut it, it goes to a picture of me just sitting there or something like that. So an emergency one in there. Well, I suppose you see there's a dead man switch. There was a train in England that ran off the rails. I think the driver just fell asleep. So he didn't take his foot off the dead man switch or something, didn't he? Or his hand off. So
Yep.
So it could be quite deadly if those things don't work correctly.
That's true.
Well, also as well, I've been looking at this week, and I think I mentioned the other week within technology, but looking at keyboards again, and just the fantastic tech that's in some of these keyboards. And I've been looking at the Korg Cronus, and that's what got me onto the sustain pedals and things like that. And it's just amazing. These things, I know they're a computer with 88 keys. That's what they are these days.
They're amazing.
Because these ones, the Korg one, it says it samples each note at every velocity, and does that, and it's just quite incredible what they do. And simple things like with a proper piano, if you play a chord and hold the chord down and hit another key there, well, the strings will resonate on the chord that you're playing as well, even though you're not hitting it because of the vibration. And so does that with the electronics, and it's just fascinating at what they get up to these days. And it's really I'm got this gas at the moment, gear acquisition syndrome for this, and you know how we go. We say, no, we don't need it. I can do without it, but I have to have it. That's the thing. It's all, and they're always never the cheap items. They're always the excessively expensive items.
Well, let's play a little video about a camera that I just ordered, and I think it's coming out next week on the 8th. Both Amazon and B&H now say it will be released on the 8th, so they'll start shipping on the 8th. But here's a little preview of it.
Okay.
So that is the Canon M5, the EOS M5. M is for mirrorless. 5 is because they skipped 4 because they're Japanese, and 4 has deathly connotations.
Oh.
So I had the M3 for 2 weeks, and the M3, right when I got it, 2 weeks later, they announced the M5, so I returned it to B&H. I said, give me a credit. So they did, and then I remembered last weekend, I went, hey, you know what? I made a bet with Leslie. I can't remember what it was about, neither could she, but she lost. She said, I'll buy you a camera if you do this. And I did. So I said, hey, I never actually got my money for that camera. So she agreed to pay the difference of like $400 for my credit, and I got the M5. So it'll be here. There were 2 rumors. One was that it was on the 30th, but I don't think so. And the other one, the 8th. Amazon and B&H both are saying December 8th. So I'm assuming it'll come out next week, and we'll get it the week after. But it's a nice camera. The M3 actually took very nice pictures. It's an APS-C sensor. It's a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, which is not small. It's a good size sensor, and the camera felt good in the hand. It's a little small. When you first get it, you go, that's it. This one's bigger. This one's probably maybe a third smaller than an 80D. And in some cases, it has better features than the 80D. In some, it doesn't. I think the 80D has a better buffer, but the M5 looks perfectly capable of taking good shots, has the dual pixel autofocus, has some weird camera angle, like the LCD display comes out on the bottom.
I saw that.
That's really weird. Canon. Okay, stop, Canon, stop. You're doing stupid things. Okay, I'm done ranting on Canon, but I liked it, so I got it anyways.
It was funny though, that shot you showed, that was from the Canon site, wasn't it?
It was.
Well, did you notice just at the end of it, the YouTube that popped up after it was the Kai Wong review?
Yes, yeah.
So that was funny, and was saying in the pre-show he's done a review on it already, and he likens it to pretty much similar to an 80D.
Mm-hmm.
They said not quite as good, but he said, but for the first film for a mirrorless, quite a good move compared to the 3 it was, but he was quite impressed with it. And what I like with this, with some of the others, you still get an adapter and use your existing Canon lenses.
I had the adapter in my old one, and the Canon lens adapter was great. It still allowed you to have your focus, not focus, but your autofocus to work correctly. It allowed for your exposure, so automatic exposure or manual exposure any way you want it. So it did account for that, and it worked really, really well. So you didn't lose control. It's only it went up. I think it's now $180 for the adapter, but it wasn't bad at all, and you could put any one of your lenses on it. So now you've got a mirrorless camera with all of your lenses, and having the GH4, I have the GH4 Metabones adapter, the new one, the 4.3 adapter, I think, or something like that. 0.367, I forgot what it's called. That one is amazing. It makes your GH4 look like an APS-C sensor, almost a full frame sensor. It does such a beautiful job with the Canon lenses. So the M5 is a good competitor out there. Is it perfect? No. Is it great new technology? No. Does it do 4K? Why would they? This is Canon.
Yeah.
And if they did do 4K, you would need a much bigger camera just to hold the big card so you could get the movie out, because it's so huge, the codecs they're using. They do some really interesting stuff, but what do they do? Animated JPEG, I think, or something like that. Those are slow motion JPEGs. Those are so huge. So at least I think you get MP4 in this one, which is nice. And
well, the thing is, most people who are buying this want a mirrorless camera to replace a DSLR.
Right.
A video HD would be fine for them, but it's a good move at least to do the first stage, get a good quality mirrorless camera going first. It's working well, then work on the 4K. Well, they can't get the 4K quite right, even in the 5D Mark IV.
No.
So
No.
I mean, what hope is it going to be in the APS-C model? It's not going to.
No. And the other thing is, even though a lot of people have HD TVs, the 4Ks are coming out. They're becoming really reasonably priced. We saw a 65-inch Sony today for $990. That's a Sony, and that's a really nice Sony, and you just go, wow. But it's not an OLED. So, you know, for
That's what I
OLED, you're
was
still in the
thinking.
two,
Now,
$3,000
now
range
you-
for the same thing. That's a lot of money.
I said, now you know why they're coming down, because you know after you've seen the OLED, you say, yes, $1,000. I don't care. I'm waiting for that
Exactly.
$15,000 one to come
Exactly.
down to 5,000.
Yeah, and LG right now is the only one who's making OLEDs. So I don't know if they have a patent on it, but they're the only ones. Nobody else has an OLED.
Samsung doing?
No OLED.
But I think what it is, I think OLED is their terminology. I think it's their way. I think Samsung have one, but it's not called OLED.
No, it is. It's called an OLED. It's an AMOLED or OLED display.
But I was sure Samsung had one. I'm sure I heard Leo Laporte talking about a Samsung and the LG.
You know, I haven't found it. I was looking all over the other day for the Samsung. I couldn't even find it.
But I said, once you've seen them, those blacks are just look fantastic.
The
don't they?
sharpness,
They're just so
the sharpness of the
crystal
colors, the vibrance is amazing.
clear.
It's
And
night and
which
day.
we all know how good they are, because just look at all the Samsung phones, because a lot of those have got the OLEDs.
Right. Hey,
that's
and
why
you know what,
everything
Jeff?
looks so gorgeous on them.
And Jeff, if they continue with the Samsung tradition, all the TVs will explode.
I was waiting for
Wouldn't that
that.
be
So-
cute? By the way, I am the happy ex-owner of a Note 7, which I had to turn back in because it exploded. Not mine, but that was irritating. That was, I still like my Note 7 better than my current phone, but oh well. I currently have the GeForce from the Moto GeForce. It's good, but I don't think it was as good as the Note 7.
It was just funny. I was talking to somebody the other day, and there was actually on a plane going somewhere, and as I was talking on the phone, you could hear the announcement in the background. At this stage, all mobile phones must be switched off, and if you do have a Samsung, please alert, because you're not allowed on the plane. Because it still says that's coming to the announcement now. If you have a Samsung Note 7, please alert the hostess, because because I think it's just got that bad. That's really bad, though, when it's part of the aviation rules that you're not allowed to fly with one of them in the plane, isn't it?
That's actually pretty bad. And Samsung just blew it. I don't know if they'll ever recoup sales after that, the way they did. The Edge 7 hasn't really done as well afterwards. And none of the Samsung phones. Yeah, none of the Samsung phones are doing that well right now.
And I think the thing is that if they do release another a replacement for that one, they'll just have to call it something totally different.
Yeah, something similar, like innovative, like
the Note anymore.
No, they'll have to call it something like the Samsung Kaboom.
That's no, that won't make anybody.
It's
very strange, isn't it? So.
Yeah, and the marketing guys are going to have fun with it. It's like this Samsung, what is it? Let's call it the Samsung Note 8. It's explosive in its capabilities.
Yeah, that's right.
They'll come up with something stupid, I'm sure. Yeah, they really blew it in every which way. They blew it. They reacted badly. They took too long, and they don't even really know what happened, or if they do, they're not admitting it.
Now, didn't they have a camera at one stage? Didn't Samsung have?
They did. It was actually pretty nice. And now they got rid of that too. A couple of explosions, that was over. No, actually, it didn't sell well. It was a cute camera. I had it for about a couple weeks, 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then they announced a 4K version of a different camera, so I got rid of it. I think that's when I got the GH4. Right after I saw GH4 come out, and I said, well, I don't need the Samsung. So I sent the Samsung back to B&H, and I got the GH4 instead. So it was a nice camera. It did everything. It had pretty good pictures, but it was only HD. And when the GH4 came out, I said, I don't really need this. And since I had just purchased it, I returned it. And
I'll tell you what, you're so lucky there. Like, if I go and buy something from an equivalent type place like that, the moment I'm sorry, you can't return it, even if it's the next day. So you've got to be pretty sure of things. That's why I don't go out and buy as much, because there's a chance there you can buy it and you can try it for a week and then send it back if you don't.
Especially
like
with people like Amazon. Amazon has the best return policy on earth. They don't really hassle you, and I guess if you return too much or you start having a weird pattern, they'll probably say, hey, what are you doing? But for the most part, they're not bad.
Buy a camera for your wedding event that you're doing, send it back on Monday, then
Yeah.
I'll get the next one in a week or two's time when I need it again. So
Yeah.
because I suppose we'll see a bit of a pattern if you're buying the same sort of thing and returning it.
Yep. Now it's interesting. I was looking at another thing. Remember I told you I like that Alpha 99 or A99 from Sony?
Yeah.
I don't think I would buy it. One, it's expensive, but two, you're really an auto everything. For example, if you want to do a movie, you're an auto, period. You can't do exposure,
Okay.
you can't do they control it for you, which may not be very good. Not sure why they did that, but they control a lot of it. So you lose a lot of the video controls. They have a great camera with good lenses and just a great sensor, but then they blow it by saying, well, no, but you can't do that because we won't let you.
Oh, that's strange, because a lot of people will probably have one auto, but you still want the facility to switch it on manual.
Yeah.
So so you can adjust things like when you've got backlit, too much light behind the subject, you've still got to switch on manual, else you
Right.
just get a black shot.
Right.
So there's a lot of times you do want to go straight into that manual.
And Sony's doing
I
some...
saw-
Go ahead, Jeff.
I saw a few on some of the people reviewing YouTube site like this. Dan Watson's site. He did a review of the A99 Mark II. So I was going to have a look at that because a few of his reviews I quite like the setup. That they're not too involved. Like some people, you get them. Yes, they've got tons and tons of things, but they just confuse me some of the time. But
Right.
they talks in the way that I would like to know about the camera and how you would set things up and the things that you don't need to know about. Which I'll have to give that a shot just to have a little look at that 99.
It looks nice, but there's some weird things. And if you look at Sony, again, they came out with the A6500 to replace the 6300, which was too hot. And now I'm reading that the 6500 is even hotter. So you just go, maybe they should give up those miniature Korg car bodies that they're just so small that you have a ton of great electronics in an area that just can't circulate air. They can't dissipate the heat fast enough. And as a result, they keep in 4K video obviously takes up a lot of resources from the camera. And they just can't do it. Though I do agree, the 64 and the 6300 really do take beautiful video and pictures. They're nice.
Definitely.
But I don't want to sit there with my camera going...
But the silly thing is, though, with that size is, I can't see the point of making it so small because pretty much any lens on it is going to make it a bit bigger and chunkier. And if you don't put a big lens on, if you only put a little one on, you're probably not going to buy that camera anyway. You'll buy one of the little, point and shoot ones, the little Canons or the little Sonys that don't overheat and that.
Well, I like the people who have those little, like the A7S2 or A7R2 or whatever. As A7S, it's like this big. And they have this big Canon 70 to 200, and they're like, holding it here. It's like, it just looks like a little toy with this huge glass at the end that's this big.
That was funny. That's what Kai Wang did with the M5.
I saw that.
I came out there and I thought I'd put the smallest lens I could find on it. He's got one of the biggest ones on there out at her.
That was funny. But it is a small camera. It's not as small as the M3. It's a little bit bigger, but still, you put a 70 to 200. The Canon 70 to 200 as the end is this big, so it doesn't make sense.
He has a go about the auto focusing not being quite fast enough, so he's going around the go-kart track filming somebody, then he changes the speed and gets somebody on a ride-on lawnmower going around the track. He said that's about the speed, so it's taking the pictures on the ride-on lawnmower. He said that's my speed. He does a good video.
So your gas, let's talk about your gas, your gear acquisition syndrome.
Yes.
You're thinking of probably a very expensive... are you thinking of a Yamaha or the Korg?
Korg. So I've got the Yamaha already. So
well, the Korg's not as expensive, right?
Only by about $400. So.
Oh, that's not too bad. I thought you were talking 4,000 at first. I went, ooh, That's expensive.
Yes, I am, because the Yamaha was 6.5.
Oh, okay.
But the thing, it all depends. It's relative. In American dollars, it's probably about 4,000 American dollars.
Right.
So that's mine. Nearly 6,000 my
Is
dollars.
the Korg a keyboard too, or is it just more of an effects?
Keyboard, 88, full 80.
It has full 80.
keys,
Okay.
And proper, weighted keys. So like a piano, weighted keys, proper. Weighted, so it's it is a fully fledged keyboard, but as I said, it's just it's a computer with keys on it. It's
Korg does some amazing things with frequency, and those guys are the masters of frequency. They can do amazing little things with that.
And it's amazing. It's got 9 sort of synth engines built into it, not just one. There's not one control that controls the sound. There's 9 of them in that machine. And when you hear some of the sounds you can get out of it, it's just incredible. But it's I keep saying no, I don't need it. My other one's perfectly good enough. But the thing why it's attracting me is the Yamaha I have. It's fantastic, but it's in a different type of fantastic.
Right.
The Korg goes another level. Will complement it for the sounds. The Yamaha's better for the arranging capabilities.
Right, and the real sound of music, right?
And so it does a better job on that. But even the Korg does a better sound. But it's got quite a good. You can still record the MIDI files on there, but the Yamaha is a bit better at arranging things and putting them together. But that's why I like that one, because if I'm going to spend that money, I don't want to have something that does half the things that the one I do have does. And pretty much everything on this one's different. Like my Yamaha doesn't have the weighted keys, and it's a 76.
So you know what you have to do now? Then you know what you have to do? You have to buy a long black wig. Just a long wig, so you kind of look like Guitaro when he does his things, and you have your Yamaha and the thing on top of it, and you need lighting. You need to be in the dark with only one light on you, and another light on the piano on the hands. Now that would be cool, and then you can start your own viral video and make an album out of it, and people will buy it.
And did you used to have the old K-Tel?
Yes. People you never ever heard of.
Blacktown plays the K-Tel hits of the 70s. And have me doing that with a wig on. It says.
That'd actually be cool.
That would they just died off, didn't they? I used to love that as a kid. You see, and you go out and buy the K-Tel presents the hits of the 70s or something like that.
But they have some. I know there was a couple of the channels were playing things like, and here's Mary Thomas, the great Mary Thomas with the quintessential hits from Mary Thomas. Who the hell's Mary Thomas? Nobody ever heard of her. And they show this person singing all the old Patsy Cline songs, and it's like, who is she? And she sells thousands, maybe millions, and nobody knows who the hell she actually is. It's hilarious. We could do that. Anybody could do that. Just say, it's the Jeff Blanchard. He's back after so many years in absence. Jeff Blanchard with his greatest hits ever. $9.99. Just call now. Operator standing by.
Well, I'll tell you what we did when in my early days in retail, when Compaq announced a computer in the early days when first Windows 3.11, Compaq had a release evening in the city, and they held it at one of the theaters. And what they did, they hired 200 actors to come to the door to start yelling and screaming when people started arriving. And of course,
that's how we do our political protests now. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Then 500 people come, and everybody, there's something going. And then you feel such an idiot. You walk in there, there's hundreds of these people cheering, and they say, who's this come? It's nobody, but they just like that. Everybody thought there was something else going on, and there must be somebody famous there. And
I'm convinced Apple pays the first 100 people in line $15 an hour to just stand there and look stupid. And they're all sitting there going, I can't wait to get my new iPhone or my new iPad or my new this. And then when they're in, they don't actually buy anything, but the 100,000 people behind them do. So
I'm sure things like that, like all these events, outrageous claps and applause when they do something. Well, all he said was doing this. It wasn't that fantastic, but I just hate it the way that everybody, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't said anything yet.
No, but it's incredible. It's just incredible what they've done. The fanboys are just amazing.
Yeah, and I love my Apple stuff, but so I'm not crazy about. I can still criticize it and still would like some things better, but there's some people, no matter what they do, they'll say, "Oh, we're just going to take your computer away from you and not have a screen." And
Now,
say,
Jeff,
what innovation?
I heard that imminently Apple is announcing new iMacs finally.
Hmm.
Sometime in the next couple of weeks, I heard something like that. They haven't announced a new iMac in at least 2 years, right?
No.
The last one was the 5K, and I think that was at least 2 years ago.
Well, do you know what? If they are, well, they're probably better. Did you see the release of the new Microsoft 29-inch version of the iMac?
Oh, they came out with their own?
Yeah, but theirs is a bit different. Theirs is sort of like a huge 29-inch iPad that lays down, that you can write on, draw on, and use it as a but it's their first desktop computer.
Interesting.
That they've ever done, but it's Leo Laporte got one and had it on the show that he was doing, but it's designed not to sit like in front of a computer. Down like a draftsman's tablet, like these.
Well, that's sort of like, who did that first? What's it called? The
Wacom.
Wacom had that for years already.
They've got that, but it's said as a tablet. But that's what Microsoft has done within a computer with Windows 10, of course. But if the Apple don't watch it, the people get taken away with these ones from Microsoft, because a lot of the things that keeps Apple going in the computers are the creatives and all that. And if you see all the, I don't know if you've got the same adverts that they have out here, but Microsoft, all the ones that they keep advertising, these people always, I wish my Mac could have done that. Oh, this is good, but my old Mac can't do that. And they're always.
I haven't seen. Have you seen those ads? No, I haven't seen those ads yet. I'm sure they have them, but I haven't seen them.
They're just going to say the new Surface Pro. Oh, it's wonderful. And then they've got the friend talking and said, "Oh, that's great. I wish my Mac would do that."
Yeah.
And they're all having that subtle dig at them. But,
I think the problem with the iMac is whenever you have a problem, you're dead. You can't change anything on your own, and you're hosed. And you have to take it into Apple. They give it back to you whenever they're good and ready, and it sucks because all iMacs are all-in-ones. Anything breaks, you are dead. You're just dead.
Then again, I'm on my third one, and I must say I've never had that problem.
We have two problems with iMacs that went bad. One of them, the screen went half out. That's a known problem.
Oh, okay.
One of the lights went out, and it cost $600 to replace it. It's like, it's hardly worth it. And then that was an older iMac. And then we had this one not long ago, maybe 6 months ago. I never realized that the hinge breaks on the moving part. So the part there breaks, and now you can't just go donk, and you can't bring it back up anymore. And it's a really cheap plastic part that holds that monitor up. And then there's a thing on YouTube that shows you how to change it for a metal one and redo it and do it yourself without their help. But those are known problems, and they just kind of ignore them.
Because it'd be nice to be able to just take that stand off and mount it onto an arm or something, but not very easily. You can't do that very easily with them, because that would make them even that much better. But I must admit, I haven't had any sort of problems. As I said, the only one I did was the hard disk, which was a known recall, but it wasn't a problem. They got hold of me before anything happened, and then they swapped it over, and they phoned me up. It was about 3 years ago, and it was they came on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, at 8 o'clock at night, and replaced it. And as I said, I said, well, it doesn't matter. Oh, no, we'll come do it that time. So I thought, well, there must have been a desperate problem if they had to come that late to get it done. But,
I got the same notice. We never had them fixed, and they're still working.
And that's what they said. It was only the fusion drives and some possibility of this, and nothing ever happened to mine, but they were all quite quick and efficient to do that. But as I said, I'm always out for something, so I'm hopefully, if they do have a new one, I want something really different. But that's why they say they haven't changed them, because so what's really to change? I said the 21-inch, they can't get the chips for the upper grade chip to make it any faster, so there's no point. And there's, well, really what's to do? The problem with Macs some of the times, they don't date as quick as some of the Windows ones, so there's no need to update them unless, like, what can they do? I can't think of anything.
Now, I really wish Apple would license the OS and sell it multi-platform, not just stick it on. Sell it to everybody. They'll make billions.
Well, they did at one stage. Remember when they did it the first day with and that didn't last. Then Steve Jobs came back and outlawed that. But I think they're at that point now where they'll want to concentrate on their phone business and things like, and their tablet business. What would it hurt to license it out? And can you imagine some of these big, huge machines if you could have? Because sometimes it's not I think you love the Mac operating system, but you don't particularly like the hardware.
No, I don't think the hardware is all that good. I think it's
over. But you want something a bit faster.
To me, the Mac is just overpriced BS. There's no reason to pay as much as you do for it, because you can get better monitors, you can get better components. They don't put the best in, and they don't put the fastest in. So as a result, you get kind of a mediocre machine that's nice, but it could be better, and you could make your own a lot better. And I don't want to do a Hackintosh, because that's a pain. Every time something changes, you've got to redo your whole OS, because none of your peripherals will be supported.
But that would be great if they did a Mac one, and like you said, they're making billions. So imagine the amount of money they'd make off all of them, because they'd make money and not have to support anything, wouldn't they? They'd make quite a lot on it. It's a bit like I think Sony did in the early days. They were the ones who came up with the VHS, I think, as well as Beta. Yeah. But everybody else took that. But I don't think they really cared, because they were
Panasonic was VHS. I think Panasonic was VHS.
No, I think Sony had the patent on VHS as well. Maybe I'm wrong. So could be wrong. You never know. But it's like one of those urban legends. You hear it and it sounds good, so you stick with it.
I always thought it was Panasonic, and that's why they competed and had that war, and Sony lost.
Yeah, but as I said, it's one of those things that they try to make. Yes, it is the better one, but that's not always what people want. Like the Beta was the better quality, always was and always will be, but hey, it wasn't out there.
Also the problem is Panasonic is going, okay, ours isn't as good, but our players are a lot smaller. And Sony always had those big players.
People have adapted them.
Yeah, and Sony couldn't react fast enough. Or didn't want to react fast enough.
Well, I think what they did, they didn't want to. It's a bit like Apple, where the moment what they don't want to go into have a touch screen, do they? And that's where this thing with their 29-inch, it's like a tablet. It's like a huge tablet with a touch screen, but with a keyboard, so you can do all the same thing.
Now, I like Windows 10 better than the iMac. I don't think the iMac or the Mac interface is all that great. And you have more controls in a lot of ways. Finder is really primitive. Windows Explorer is still a whole lot better than Finder. So you just go, all right, so what am I getting out of this? I mean, the Mac has some nice things I like about it. And the software is cute, and they have good apps. But so does Windows. You can get the same kind of apps on Windows. And I don't see any great... And by the way, I own... something like 4 or 5. I think we own 6 Macs total, maybe 7. So don't say we don't buy our Macs, okay? If you're watching, we do. And we have a lot of Windows machines too. But I'll tell you, we can build faster, better machines than an iMac any day, and get better monitors for it too. So that's my gripe. You're forcing me into a more mediocre machine, and we've got 3 iMacs that I don't think they're worth it, and they're okay. I wish Final Cut Pro would run on Windows, personally. If I had to buy a Mac today, it would only be for Final Cut Pro. So I have to justify, do I really need Final Cut Pro that much? I like what they've done with it, but I'd hate to buy a whole machine just for Final Cut Pro.
That's right, and that's what somebody else was saying. I was listening to Mac Break Weekly this week, and they were saying people think they better watch it because people have got the Final Cut Pro, but if there's another alternative like there is, they might just say, because if that's the only thing I'm going for, I'll switch.
Yeah.
And most of them, then all the Adobe stuff goes on cross-platform. So if you have to get stuck with your machine, you can still get used to it while you've got your Mac.
Right.
And then if they don't do anything with it, you can just go over to your PC as well. So
Yeah.
you're not
And it runs
if you-
faster, and then Adobe
if you-
will run faster on a PC.
Yeah. And if you're tied into a Final Cut, well, if the Mac's not there, well, you've got nothing else. Or else they should be bright enough and smart enough. They should like make Final Cut cross-platform as well, so it can go on the other way.
Now
so
that
they
would
get a
be
bigger
cool.
audience.
See, but they don't think that way, because I think Final Cut cross-platform would be pretty interesting. But
I think it would do too.
yeah, and frankly, what is the Mac OS? It's Unix or Linux. It's
Linux.
over Linux. So, there's nothing unique about it. Just the skin. It's just the skin of an OS, and you could run Linux on any machine. It doesn't have to be on an Apple machine. So, they're a little disingenuous about stuff like that, and they charge, like I said, an awful lot for what you're getting. I mean, I can get 8 gigabyte video cards for $300, and I can't get that on a Mac.
Well, and I mean, even things like when you buy a new Mac, like when I bought my last Mac, I got the smallest amount of RAM I possibly could, because if you got 32 meg of RAM
Yeah.
built in, it was something like $1,500 extra, and I went to Mac Sales, and for about $250 I got the 32 gig of RAM.
Yeah.
And then I thought, how ridiculous is that? It's probably the same chips, but how can they justify a pre-built one that they're putting in at the factory, so that you'd think it'd be cheaper and easier to do it that way?
Yep.
And like when you up the hard drive and you want the 2 terabyte solid state,
And you can't.
They charge you they charge about $2,000
know.
extra for it.
I know, and a lot of the
It's
things,
surely not that much.
and a lot of things are now soldered in, so you can't change them anyway.
Yeah, that's what really gets me, that you can't, like the older ones, you could open the backs, you could take the hard drive out and replace it with a different one if you wanted to. The only thing you can change on these ones is the memory. But even on the 21-inch, you can't even do that. That's soldered, in as well.
And that's why I say, do you want to go with a totalitarian company that tells you what to like, what to think, what to use? Or do you want to go with anything you want? I'd go with anything I want.
Yeah, but as I said, the thing that's keeping them going is probably people like myself as well. Is you're sort of tied into that
Right.
Ecosystem, and it's a bit hard to break out. Like I tried to break out with the Samsung Note 4, the one that was going okay, and I loved the phone, but the only thing I didn't like, it didn't interact with all my other things as the iPhone did.
Right.
And I was finding I was missing out on not using it. And as I said, the big thing with the Note, the only thing I didn't like that made me switch back was Apple have a physical switch to mute the phone. That's the only thing. I wish others would have that, because that's a deal breaker for me, because you're in a meeting, you just switch it off if you forget. Have you ever tried to switch to some of those others? You can't.
Yeah, but
quickly do it when it's
usually,
ringing.
like on my phone, if I press the volume all the way down, it takes about less than a second. So it's a little longer, but I can live with that.
Yeah. But as I said, that's little things, but as I said, it was other things that...
But you have an iTunes library, right?
I do, yeah.
And
but
it's
I'm
hard
not-
as heck to get your iTunes to play on Android.
Yeah, but I'm not terribly bothered. Like that wasn't an issue, because I've never done anything with iTunes much for music on my phone either. If I want some, I put something on it, but I'm not one of these huge ones that put all my music collection and need it from here and there. It's just hasn't been a problem for me. But, but as I said, if and that's what they were saying the other day. Yes, okay, people are hooked into that, but if you annoy them and you say, well, I'll get my laptop, I'll get a Windows laptop this time, and then once they've broken the thing with the ecosystem, they're getting used to that, then they're not so worried about breaking the other ones. So that's how it keeps a lot of the Apple crowd in there, because we love to keep everything in the same thing. But once we break out of it,
Right.
you might lose us altogether. So
That's true. That's true. Well, anyway, Jeff, we are at the end of our time, and it's been a long time since we had a show again, and so we should be okay now. The studio's up and running.
It's a good test. We're working fine. That was a good test today.
Yep, and so we're good to go again. So This will be good. Next week, I think we have a guest. I just can't remember who it is right now.
Gina.
Gina, how can I forget Gina?
How can you? I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Gina's
something in
still
a
for
minute.
next
But
week.
anyway, for all you people watching, thanks. We will see you next week with Gina Schreck. Don't miss it. She's going to talk about holiday gifts to give geeks, techies, and nerds.
Yes.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.